Okay. S.A.L.T Productions has taken to the roads of Florida. So, again, low tech. That's your view. I got to do this while driving. We've done a 2016 recap. We're in the middle of a 2016 season recap, and we did a two-part series on parity in the NFL, parity rules. And now I want to talk about a topic dear to my heart, and that is defense wins championships. That topic is so dear to my heart that I did a many-part series on that in S.A.L.T Productions with Salty Peppers. I know this is under Bob. Don't ask. But I did some. I love the fact that defense wins championships. You know, the offense sells tickets. Everybody's looking for offense, and who wins it? Who wins? The team with the defense. The stuff that bores people that they don't want to see when they watch. But that's what wins. Now you'll say, now come on, that's been outdated. And look at the 2016 season. The rules favor the offense now. The rules favor that you can't even hit in the secondary. They're on the look for concussions, so the defense has been very limited in the types of hits that they can do in the secondary, types of tackling, types of usage of the helmet. Yes, the rules have been favoring offense forever. They've been more and more, and I cannot deny, and nobody can deny, the amount of points being scored in the NFL is up. But I'm still going to maintain that defense wins championships. Now let's go through that in light of this 2016 season. If you count up, you'll see that there are 5 dominant offenses out there, and plenty more very good offenses. And when I say dominant offense, I mean 30-point-a-game type, where if you don't have a good defense, they're going to rip you apart. We got in the AFC, we got New England Patriots. I'm going to call them a dominant offense. I'm not sure why, but I mean, when I say I don't know why, I mean, I don't know what keeps them as a dominant offense. Maybe you want to say it's Tom Brady, simply Tom Brady, and no matter who they would put out there. But all right, Tom Brady and the New England Patriot offense with Josh McDaniel running it. Again, coaching, a very key component in the NFL. That's one of my other favorite topics that I cover in S.A.L.T Productions. Josh McDaniel running a great offense. Pittsburgh Steelers, dominant offense. Oakland Raiders, dominant offense. Of course, that being if Derek Carr is there, and that's because of the emergence of Derek Carr. In the NFC, we're going to put the Dallas Cowboys as dominant offense. We'll see how Dak does last year, but for this year, with that running game, strong offensive line, and Dak showing the poise of a veteran and being accurate, has legs as well to help him. Good choices and accuracy. That we're going to put that as a dominant offense. And the fifth team, of course, the Atlanta Falcons. They scored 40 points 3 times, over 35 points 8 times, and over 30 points. I get even more, about another 10 times. They only scored under 21 times this year against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's how dominant their offense was this year. 5, and I didn't put in Green Bay. Go through all the rest of the teams. I didn't put in Green Bay. I didn't put in Indianapolis. Now, Green Bay's a little bit closer that I should have put in. Certainly, they were a dominant offense for the last part of the season. If you want to take into account all 16 games, don't know if you could put Green Bay as a dominant offense. By the time it ended, you could. Their running game, their protection for Rodgers, and of course, I did a few-part series on, is it the old, it's not really the A+ Aaron Rodgers, it's the A Aaron Rodgers. Okay, debatable, but certainly a very strong offense. Andrew Luck went on, dominant offense. He had a great year this year. People don't realize that they're not giving him any protection. Offensive line makes it that you'd want to say it's not a dominant offense. Running game not there to support Andrew Luck. And they're always on the field. The defense does nothing, so he's got a lot of pressure on him to win the games because of the lack of their defense. Okay, so that's 5 with 2 close ones. Arizona, you can't put in there as a down, although they could rip you apart on occasion. Last year they were a dominant offense. Carolina was a dominant offense last year, not this year. And on the majority, there are more teams out there that have strong offenses like Detroit than they have strong defenses. There are more teams that their emphasis is on offense than on defense. I'm not going to add it up and go through it for you. Just add it up, you'll see. There's more offensive teams out there that the main emphasis of their team is offense than there is defense. How many dominant defenses are out there? Not many. I would call the Vikings a dominant defense. I'd still call Denver a dominant defense. And Minnesota had a stretch where they were not dominant. Denver had stretches where didn't look as kind of dominant as it did last year. And do you want to call the Rams dominant? I don't. You could say that they're on the field so much because of their problems on offense. Oops, I got to get out here. 1 second, I got to swing over. Dangerous move being made right here on the. I got to get out of Ives Dairy. Okay, the Rams have too many lapses in defense for them to call a dominant defensive team. Everyone was always, Fisher can't get the offense together. The Fisher, in my mind, never even had the team being dominant defense consistently. Too many times where they faced bad offensive teams and gave up a lot of points. And they lost talent this year. This year they didn't have Laurinaitis, Jenkins, their cornerback. They did lose some of their talent that they had in the past years before that. So you got two dominant defenses, and you want to put the Rams in there. Seattle, of course, I'm leaving out Seattle because of injury, because of not having Earl Thomas, and because of that's whoever the second corner they've been using as a second corner. That's where the other teams have been picking on. It's just not the same dominant defense as when they won the Super Bowl and came close to winning a second. A very good defense, Stormy. If you want to call it dominant, I won't argue, but there's more dominant offenses out there than dominant defense. So who made the playoffs? Which teams make the playoffs? Oh, so here's what I want to say now. If you don't have a dominant defense and you have weaknesses, there are enough teams out there that are going to take advantage of your weakness on defense. The rules, and that's because of the rules, and because of the fact that there's an emphasis on offense. So I will admit that defense wins championships still can be said. It's at its highest note. It's been true for so long. It's been true since the beginning of time, but it's the least true now than it's ever been. But still, I'm still saying, here's a guy maybe we can buy some. What are we buying? What's he selling here? Nah, forget it. But if you have weaknesses on the defense, there are enough teams with strong offenses that they're going to take advantage of it. That could explain why you got more offensive teams in the playoffs. Now, teams like the Vikings didn't make the playoffs. They had a lapse in defense, but I would say they had a lapse for about 3 weeks of defense, but their problem was offensive line injuries, Sam Bradford needing a clean pocket to be effective, to be really effective, and AP being out. The running game didn't complement Sam Bradford. So if you have a dominant defense, you better at least have an offense that contributes a little bit. That I admit, that's been true ever. Even teams that have won with a dominant defense needs a little bit of offense, or at least an offense that doesn't turn the ball over in order to win. So even the Baltimore Ravens with Trent Dilfer needed that Trent Dilfer not turn the ball over in order to win the championship. The Vikings didn't make the playoffs this year because of their offense. Oh, what do you mean by defense wins championships? And I put them as a dominant defense. Again, they didn't have, they had really not enough there on offense. Let's take the other, Seattle. Seattle had the injury, Earl Thomas and Russell Wilson being limited because of his injury, and that's another one of my favorite topics on S.A.L.T. production. Go back and look at it, and you'll see under Salty Peppers that Russell Wilson, if you want to run in predominantly from the pocket, you are not going to. He would have ended up like Colin Kaepernick, and you saw this year. Russell Wilson was not like he was the rest of his career. Again, limited by injuries, had to be in the pocket. But if you want to use him purely as a pocket passer and not run read option or not roll him out into space where he can elude the pass rushers and create more time for his receivers to get open and make big plays, then you're going to get not as good a Russell Wilson. He's okay. I'm not saying he's a bad pocket passer. And Darrell Bevan knows how to use him from the pocket effectively by mixing it in and not just doing it one after another. This is the most he's used him from the pocket, and this is the least effective he's been. What's my other dominant defense? The third one that I mentioned? I didn't have it. Wait, Seattle. Oh, Denver. Denver. I think the reason they didn't make the playoffs is because it's the emergence of Oakland and the emergence of Kansas City continuing to be strong. So, is this a year that we're not going to have a dominant defense win the Super Bowl? That's right, because there ain't no dominant defenses out there that made the playoffs. So we're going to have a dominant offense win the Super Bowl. New England versus, by the way, I'm doing this when New England's about to face Atlanta. Now, each team, I have never seen a dominant offense win a Super Bowl when they had a bad defense. Atlanta, like Green Bay, Super Bowl 45, and like New Orleans, Super Bowl 44, had a dominant offense, but had an opportunistic defense. Atlanta has caused a lot of turnovers, particularly in the second half of the season, and pass rush they've had. Not a good defense. I'm not saying it's a good defense. They are going to win because of a dominant offense, but they've had enough there on defense to complement their offense. New England, for sure, has a very good defense. As a matter of fact, you might even be saying, why aren't you putting them as a dominant defense? I can't do that. Look at the talent they have there. It's not a dominant defense, but under Bill Belichick, even if you put out inferior talent, you're going to have an average defense. You put out average talent, you're going to have a very good defense. You have very good talent. He makes it dominant, like when they won Super Bowls 38 and 39. 36, when they won, was not dominant. It was not even close, but because of Bill Belichick, they didn't give up that many points. They give up a lot of yards, but they don't give up a lot of points. You'll see that's true throughout the Bill Belichick era. The year when they won the Super Bowl, when they beat Seattle, that was the year they had Revis in the secondary to complement their front seven. It was a very good defense, not dominant, very good defense, excellent. It was the first time he had a defense close to when he won 38 and Super Bowls 38 and 39, and wouldn't you know it, he hadn't won a Super Bowl with the dominant offense of the Randy Moss and the perfect season. And they're a team like the Giants with a pass rush got to Brady, and isn't it a little bit of a coincidence that the New England only won when they had a defense close to the one 38-39? This year, I wouldn't put the defense close to the one they had when they won Super Bowl 38-39, but it's a very good defense together with a dominant offense, and there's no dominant defense out there to beat them right now. So a dominant offense with a opportunistic defense is going to get it done this year. Is that enough for, let's see, I'm at the 12-minute mark. Not bad. I covered a little bit of the 2016 season, going through the fact that there are more offenses out. Let me summarize. There are more offenses out there than defense. I admit that. Defense still wins championships. But what about this year? That's right. We're not going to have a dominant defense. There's no dominant defense out there right now. So, and I gave you reasons why those dominant defenses weren't in the, they just happened to not make the playoffs. I still say to this moment that if the Vikings would have made the playoffs and had AP back, Peterson back, I'm telling you, I think it'd be the Vikings that would be playing for the Super Bowl right now. They would have knocked off the Falcons. If Seattle had Earl Thomas, there's very good chance, and then again, a little bit more mobility from Russell Wilson, I think Seattle would be there right now, would have knocked off Atlanta. And again, no slight to Atlanta, but it's defense that wins championships in the NFL. It's still true. It's at least true. It's